which is called blessing. And this is the meaning of what is written, that through blessing in the beginning and in the end the counts will come true, and there will be no plague in them, but rather by this they will achieve true wholeness. Friends, we'll continue to the lesson from the 22nd May 2002. Please, we read an article from Salon Volume 2 page 240. What is there is no blessing but in that which is counted in the work. In any case, this is still somewhat unclear. What does it mean at it's not counted? It is counted. Shouldn't a person count what he is, what he has? Should he know where he stands, how much he has done, how much more he has been given to do? Also generally in laws, there are laws that require counting. There are laws that prohibit counting. They all relate to spiritual work. It depends on what aim and what intention a person comes to count things. Since the will to receive is entirely built from the outset and given to us with the intention of receiving for ourselves alone, so if a person does not approach it in order to correct it, it's forbidden for him to enter into and count this will to receive and dwell within it, because by doing so he loses his strength. He comes under the control of the will to receive in order to receive, and he becomes distant from the purpose of creation from attaining it. However, if a person first comes to the right line and then proceeds to the left line, then certainly he's obligated to count what he has in the left line and how much he can take from there and correct it, because then the approach becomes creative. It's beneficial for progress and for correction. Therefore, everything depends on the trajectory, how one approaches the will to receive. Then it's either forbidden to count it altogether, or on the contrary, we are obligated to count it. Are there any questions? Yes, he says that in the ascent and the descent there are doubts. So what does it mean, the right line, if it has nothing to do with the ascent or descent? What is that? Is it a feeling, an understanding, an attitude? A person needs to reach a state where his attitude to himself, to his qualities, first he should look only within himself, not at the world, and not at others. In any case, we do not understand others at all. Instead, we look live within ourselves, and when we look within ourselves, we need to look only from the perspective that we come to correct what we have. If we have no ability whatsoever to look at ourselves in such a way, then we cannot look at what we have. So we first need to engage in preparing ourselves for the correct kind of outlook. Doubts, fears, caution, all these feelings help a person precisely to feel where he is and in what he already excels. I don't understand your question, because many times we relate the right line to a good feeling. No, a good feeling or a bad feeling is the last thing. Certainly it's written and life by them, and it's written that the purpose of creation is to do good to his creations, and the goal is specifically pleasures, and the good who does good which must be felt. And our entire path is a path of correcting the vessel of perception and sensation. Our vessels are vessels for enjoyment, but until we complete the work, until we reach the end of correction, we need to constantly supervise our feelings so that our feelings don't mislead us. If we follow our feelings, then as long as we do not have string screens, then our feelings lead us to increasingly excessive use of the desire to enjoy for the sake of receiving. But a person must constantly supervise himself how much and in what way he uses it. Otherwise, he'll never be able to exit the vessels of reception. According to feeling, we cannot determine anything. Balasim gives several examples of this. He says that if a person has an itch and scratches it, the scratching still gives him pleasure, but the process itself leads him to death, to infection and death. So what should one follow? What you feel in your emotions, or what you examine with your intellect regarding the actions you're taking? You understand? That's the question. So until I have completed all the corrections both in this world and in spirituality on spiritual degrees, it's forbidden for me to spend even a single moment without supervising myself with the intellect and connecting that intellect to the purpose of creation, to what's happening now, to what I'm doing, etc. unless for a specific purpose. You also decide that you are now stepping outside all boundaries, all frameworks, all orders, everything like on Purim. That's it, to become completely lost. But even if we do that, so we do that in directed way, and then there is also benefit in that. Had to be with no supervision at all. That's completely not. So what is the joy that comes from me making a correction? And from that should be joy. Yes, at every moment, according to a rational, purposeful examination, you see where you are. Whether you can or cannot correct the state is unimportant. What matters is that you already feel it, you sense it, you become impressed by it, and these impressions mean that you pass through the states and you progress. The necessity for that I can take from the society. But from where do I find this path, this direction? This I also get from the society. Right? Society should not give a person intellect. Society should give a person enlivenment, upliftment. The intellect comes from effort after you have received this enlivenment. You work with the books, with the authors, and you work on the society. From this comes the intellect. Where intellect comes as a result of your own efforts, not something you receive from the society. Society mainly provides us with the enlivenment of the goal. What about my exertion? How can I tell that I'm exerting myself? How can I examine myself if I had to aim, how to hold myself to that exertion? Truly labor. I'm in the will to receive. So what exertion are you talking about? Yes. He writes that the person begins to do some soul looking to see how much truer he has, how much labor. Fear of heaven means the extent to which I have this enlivenment toward the Creator and a desire to aim myself in order to bestow upon Him. That is called the fear of heaven in general. So you don't need to be afraid of Him. If you are afraid of Him, that's your will to receive. That's afraid for its own sake. It's not fear of heaven. It's fear of blows, fear of suffering. You're not afraid of the Creator. You're afraid of the suffering you might receive from Him, right? We just say that I'm afraid of my mother. My mother will give me, will hit me. That's how a child thinks. But it's not fear of the mother. It's fear of punishment, of suffering, right? We shouldn't fear suffering. We should fear the Creator. What does it mean, fearing the Creator? It means fearing that we won't be able to give to Him, completely disconnecting the matter from ourselves. That is called fear of heaven. Otherwise, it means that I am afraid of the blow and not of heaven. True, the blow might come from above, but still the words themselves are imprecise. Yes. What does it mean to supervise the states I go through with the intellect? There is mind and heart. We need to constantly be under an intellectual and goal-oriented supervision. What state I am in and what is happening to me. It could be that I'm now in a state where I cannot do anything. I'm like a dead body, unable to move, and so on and so forth. But I see it. I feel that. I know that. And I'm aware that this is my state. Or, I'm confused. I'm so confused that I know nothing. Utter words without feeling what's coming out of my mouth. I cannot organize a single thought. I cannot grasp my mind at all and stabilize it. But I examine my state, and I know that this is the state I'm currently in. In other words, it needs to be some kind of observational mechanism, as though it's not entirely mine, but as though it's truly from the side through which I see myself. Yes, so what makes me more objective where I can? I'm not saying that it's an objective observation. It might not be non-objective as well. I cannot say what is objective and what is not. This side view of myself, it helps me learn myself. Okay. But this is how I learn myself. I have no other way. I have no other choice. I learn myself. I learn who I am, what I am, what else I can do, what to learn it with my intellect. Gradually, to the extent that I copy onto myself the qualities of the Creator, I begin to look at myself from the Creator's perspective. Then little by little, as I begin to identify with the qualities I acquire from Him, I start to see my own qualities as Pharaoh, as an alien force within me. The Creator's qualities, don't I buy them in the hearts? Yeah, but even so you carry out this examination with the intellect. You cannot remain only in feelings, because with feelings alone how do you compare one feeling with another. What is the truth between them? There is good and evil, and there is truth and falseness. Truth and falseness are matters of intellectual and rational examination, whereas good and evil are matters of emotional examination. So you need to proceed according to truth and falseness. You make discernments, but not according to bitter and sweet. Bitter and sweet, for us, are things that would throw us in the opposite direction. If it was simply the opposite of holiness, and we knew what the opposite was, that would be one thing. But to even determine what is opposite, I need intellect, not just a bitter and sweet. Sit here. Okay, over there. You got fresh air. Otherwise you'll fall asleep soon. Yes, we say that the intellect serves the emotions. The emotions come first and the mind welcomes some. Desire comes and the mind serves it. It serves. How can I hold my mind above the emotion? How can I hold my mind above the emotion? What can help? Yeah, so that emotions don't rule me, only fear. There's nothing else. Fear can be fear of losing the goal, but ultimately, the question what's the meaning of our lives that compels us to activate the mind more than the emotion. What is the meaning of our lives? When I see through my emotions that I have nothing and that I'm attaining no pleasures and nothing at all, so I turn to the mind, to the intellect in order to reach a good state. These are simple things. Yes, I can define lines right left, but if it's not felt, the right and left lines, this is a very conditional. It's something very relative. Relative perhaps. Yes, that is I don't know what right and left are in the spiritual sense. If there is, in order to receive and in order to bestow, then in order to bestow is right, and in order to receive is left. Let us say, and even within, that there are many different characteristics, but in our state below the barrier right and left are at least as follows. That, if I have this enlivenment, then even though it is certainly all lishmer, it's enlivenment toward the Creator, and that's called the right line, where enlivenment toward my body and what it demands is called the left line. And I myself define that I'm now in the right time in the left, or is it? Now we still cannot engage with that and say yes, I'm in the right line or I'm in the left line. No. What's most important for a person, what they need to do, is why do we become so tired? Why after an article, or especially after we discuss something, we feel squeezed? Because all of our work is in scrutiny, in this intellectual scrutiny, and that takes an enormous amount of energy. If it comes together with emotion, then all the more so in 1 hour a person does the kind of work that an ordinary person might do in a week. Yes, if what we do is to see a state and react to it, is there a connection between the catapult they're being thrown from one end to another, and is there a connection with that and the embryo who sees from one end to the end? An embryo that sees from one end to the other sees because it annuls itself. Then everything that passes through it, no matter what it is, it simply passes, and it remains in those states as they pass through it. A person upon whom these things pass from one extreme to another becomes included in them, absorbed by them, impressed by them. Their embryo is not impressed by them. It has a screen. Even though it goes through these things, it goes through them without letting them control it. Whereas here, when we are tossed by the kafarka from one end to the other, from one extreme state to another completely different state, we become included in that state. We drown in it, and each state rules over us. That's a tremendous difference. Is that not the posterior of the degree of the embryo? No, it's not the posterior side of the degree of an embryo. It's still far from that. It's simply shown to a person how weak he is. Yes, here it's written that we need to look at the lacks, and rather only about the correction of the lacks, and if a desire comes that you can't correct, what to do. It said that a desire I'm unable to correct. Still, a person must somehow reach a state where he does not use it, or he must remove it from whatever form of use he knows he is making of it. But he knows that it remains within him, and he must eventually reach a state where it becomes corrected. There must be critique. A person cannot correct anything. Where has anyone ever heard of such a thing that someone can correct something? Our effort brings from above a change, a light and illumination, the light that reforms the light that corrects, and without the light by force I cannot correct anything. So then you might ask, what does it mean that I make a restriction? It's written, one who restrains his desire even though he greatly longs for it. Is that not coercion? So if I force myself, is that called coercion? Or if others force me, is that called coercion? Right? How am I supposed to reach a state where I force nothing upon myself except effort in the study, and to the extent that the light comes and corrects me, that will be my correction? Well, to the extent that the light has not yet come, there are still no corrections. Yes, this is what it means to truly be in spiritual development. Or if I cannot correct something, if the light has not yet corrected it, then, regarding the other things that remain uncorrected, which I see and not in order, I nevertheless freeze them and do not use them. Is that spiritual development, or is that coercion? Right? Well, what do you think? Well, no answer. I don't know. It is said there is no coercion in spirituality, and even in corporate reality. It's not from the side of Kadasher, not from the side of holiness. What does that mean? If it is written on the board that one needs not to do such, and I take that, impose it upon myself, that is that called coercion? Or if it's written on the board and I impose it upon someone else, is that called coercion? First of all, that is the question, right? If I tell myself this is forbidden, and really forbid myself of it, holding myself under a certain tension so as not to use a certain quality or desire, is that coercion or not? Or should I reach a state where I use all my desires, whatever they might be, meaning I try to make an exertion, and then the light will come and correct me, and then I'll be fine. If it does not come, then I'll continue using them as I. Is that not clear what I'm saying? No, Sitch isn't following. Yes, well then. So what do you guys think? If I do it to myself, it's not coercion, it's a choice. If it's on yourself, it's not coercion. We forgot, the light needs to come and correct these forms. A light needs to come and correct them, and it's forbidden from telling myself that this is forbidden. It's the outcome of the light. Yes. First of all, I think that there's no coercion is unrelated to things which are prohibited, but it relates to something you have to do. Wait. I don't understand. You're adding. Are you asking whether coercion applies only to intentions or to actions? Is that what you're asking? No. You said that coercion is about forbidding oneself or someone else to do something, and I'm saying that coercion is about motivating myself or someone else to do something. So coercion is not in not doing, but in doing. What's the difference? It's a big difference. What does it mean to coerce? So both here and there it's against my will. So you could say, yes, but you have the desire for this, and you don't have the desire for that. So you need to bring it about artificially. Okay, right, there are certainly differences, but both are still against my will. So, forbidden in thought and forbidden in action, so that there's a prohibition in thought is forbidden, but in action it's forbidden, or the opposite. Forbidden in both. In both it's forbidden. It's forbidden for someone else in thought and action. One must not coerce someone else either. In thought, someone else, whether in thought or in action, but regarding oneself, one is obligated. You bring yourself to someone for him to coerce you. You don't have the power yourself to do it. Let's take smoking. You don't smoke, so you don't know what it is. They tell me you must not smoke. The Ministry of Health decides so. What difference does it make? From that moment on, I take it as an order. Even if I explode, I don't smoke, right? No. This is again a prohibition. But if the Ministry of Health determined that you must smoke, then, so let's say a doctor tells me that from now on I must eat only cabbage. Yes, is that coercion? That's coercion. But if I am forbidden from eating sugar, that's not coercion. Well, I don't know. There is certainly a difference. But is one coercion and the other not coercion? Well, coercion is a foreign force, or if a person forbids himself to do something or forces himself to do something, and it's not coercion because it came from his desire. If I decide it, then it's not coercion. Yes, you coerce yourself to get up in 3 in the morning even when you don't even When you don't want to because you have a goal, so it's coercion. You do something. Meaning if I coerce myself either to do something or not to do something, then, although one desire might be acting in a certain way, another desire within me does not want to impose this upon myself, and if I do it to myself, that's not called coercion, or that's something good. In other words, the question is, did I arrive at this decision myself, that I should do it, or not to do it, or did I take this stigma from the outside, this notion, this law from the outside? Maybe that is what determines whether it's coercion or not coercion, you understand. So even if you follow the recommendations of the books or the group, ultimately you adopt that because you fear it's a so. If I take it from the outside, I think it's correct, let's say that it's worthwhile, then it's not coercion. Even though I do not want it according to the calculation, I accept it. Does anyone say otherwise? Yes. I wanted to say that coercion relates only to the attitude that I have toward something, let's say smoking. I'm given the recommendation, the doctor says that I shouldn't smoke and I can't stop smoking, but my attitude towards cigarettes and smoking remains like that of a smoking person, smoker. So, but in action I don't smoke, and this is not called coercion because it didn't change my attitude, it didn't affect my attitude. Good. And what is coercion? Coercion is when I'm forced. Someone influences me. Meaning coercion is when a foreign force is applied to me without my consent, right? And I need to carry out whatever I'm told without inner agreement. Why does that obligate me to act? Fear. Yes, fear. Fear meaning in any case it's fear. Either I adopted it because I'm afraid and therefore act, or I'm afraid of what? Afraid of suffering from it. I'm afraid of the suffering that this thing will bring. Afraid of suffering from the Creator, and because of that I don't do many things. Is that coercion or not? Or is coercion only when I'm afraid of some person? Maybe coercion is only a result of the fact that I'm still unable to attain. There is none else besides him. Well, yes, well, you wanted to say something, didn't you? Every time I go against my desire or towards someone else, it's always coercion. Even if I understand that smoking is harmful, even if I decided to stop, I'm still going to suffer because I'm forcing it upon myself. It's always coercion. So say you're saying this, I want to smoke. I know it's not good, but I have no choice. The body forces me and I smoke. No, the opposite. What do you mean the opposite? I decided to stop smoking. I decided and I stopped, but I'm suffering because I'm forcing this upon myself. I stopped smoking. I suffer because I stopped and I do not smoke. And that's called coercion. Fine, you're coercing the body. No, but you're coercing. Yes, even though I have to do it by force. It's a calculation. So it's a state where there's no coercion. It's not calculation. It's not in my hands. In spirituality, we say we don't have such a thing. What does it mean if someone calculates, and I don't know his calculation, but I have to do it? You have a calculation. It's not his calculation, but your. It's always like that. We're talking about things that I'm doing, not that are done on me without my awareness. Yes, things I perform, and the calculation could be not in my hands, but still it comes within my calculation. I'm saying I see a person who's wiser than me, or the Creator who's greater than me. He knows what's best for me. So I make some kind of calculation. I don't accept it just like that. What Gilad is saying is above reason, or I don't know what to say. It's okay, we'll talk about it. Now friends, we're going to summarize what we took from the lesson, what we're going to implement in our 10. We got 6 minutes for that. Okay, the person cannot correct himself. It's as we read in the article, the fact that he labours and makes an effort. He draws on light that reforms him. So what should we do? Only one thing: labour. The labour is expressed by us being in the desire to receive. And Rabash writes that a person starts to work. He's thrown into the slingshot area where he doesn't know what for, why I'm being thrown this way or that way, why I'm given all these corporal desires. And in the corporal desires, he doesn't understand why he needs to keep the spiritual desires if he doesn't feel it altogether. He has complaints to the Creator and he needs faith. We talked about fear. Fear that if there's a goal to reach the Creator. So the fear is, can I give the maximum to that goal? Or will I keep something for myself? That's the fear. Fear of heaven. Also, what makes our feelings rise above knowledge? The question, what is the meaning of life, that immediately puts in feeling I want to feel it. There was also a scrutiny about what coin is. If there is such a thing, that I'm making calculations because of all kinds of other problems I have, that it's not coercion, and what is Korean where I must perform it. It's interesting. I also heard regarding an I have to annul desire in order to be able to make the correction of creation, which is to equalize in form with the Creator. If I don't feel the need to bring contentment to the Creator, we need to work in creative ways to try to convince my body how it's worthwhile and it's good, and then add the intention to it. Yes, a whole scrutiny about the reason for the restriction, if it's because of fear or what. We also see after the restriction in the reflected light. Why? Because he is great in ruling. It's a greatness of the king. That's the reason that allows him to restrict himself. What does it mean to restrict himself? I don't want to receive anything in order to receive. So it's the intention. How do I put the intention to bestow one? What is the intention to bestow? It's a matter of the greatness of the king. That's a feeling already above what we aim here. It's a feeling toward the upper one, to adhere to him. And this is why you relinquish your own benefit. One of the things that were said is that a person fears the Creator's sufferings and not the Creator himself. And then Rob said, why? A person needs eventually to fear the Creator. But I had the question, what does it mean to be afraid of the Creator? If you're not afraid of their suffering, then what exactly are you afraid of? That I didn't understand. Yeah, it's a very powerful lesson with love. We received great impression. Every second is an opportunity to renew ourselves. In the 10, in our work in the 10, to really scrutinize where we are in terms of intention, in terms of our connection, and where we place the Creator in our spiritual work, the doubts and fears, and all that these feelings help a person feel where he is and what he has done already. All the doubts and fears and the criticism, when he sees what is inside of him and thinks out to correct it, it should come from gratitude. Begin with gratitude. Gratitude that I received such a state and others didn't. And if you have that gratitude, you have the right line and the left line. They have to be together, and in the end, go to the right line again. Israel, that's what we call to bless before. Israel is counted, and after. If it's a matter of correction, it is ready. Hello friends, we're in study between friends. We're continuing to study the giving of the Torah, the Matan Torah article. For those who have the book, it's in the writings of. We're going to be reading items 15 and 16 today, and whoever doesn't have a book can find it in the study material link. Again, we're reading Matan, the giving of Torah. We're towards the end of the article. We're in the final items of this article. The article ends in item 17, and immediately after item 17 moves to the Arvut article, and the Arvut article starts from item 18 already. The Arvut article is the continuation of the Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah article. We're going to reach the final part of the article, and next week we'll connect to the which is the continuation of this article. So first we're going to read items 15 and 16. Then we'll watch an explanation of our AV. Then we'll try to get deeper as best as we can in this article, and a small part from the lesson we heard today. Prior to a person being rewarded with permanent faith, he is in the in between. It was very nice where Rabish says that a person is thrown from one end to the other. He sees that he has no freedom of choice, and he finds himself that he's like the clay in the hands of the maker and has no reason or opinion of himself. So we'll try to be as clay and the master's hands. Then we'll hear, after we read, we'll hear Rav's explanation, and we'll continue together. So we are reading items 1516. We read it together in the tens. In the giving of Matan Torah article, items 1516. So let's read in the tens. Please, item 15. Now we can understand the words of Hani to the proselyte, that the essence of the Torah is love your friend as yourself, and the remaining 612 mitzvot, commandments, are but an interpretation and preparation for it, and even the commandments between man and the Creator are regarded as a preparation for that commandment, which is the final aim, emerging from the Torah and mitzvot, commandments. As our sages said, the Torah and mitzvot were given only so as to cleanse Israel, which is the cleansing of the body until one acquires a second nature defined as love of others, meaning the one mitzvah, love your friend as yourself, which is the final aim of the Torah, after which one immediately obtains adhesion with him. But one must not wonder why it was not defined in the words, and you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. He did this for the above reason that, indeed, with respect to a person who is still within the nature of creation, there's no difference between the love of the Creator and the love of his friend fellow person, for anything that is from another is unreal to him, and because that proselyte asked to explain to him the desired outcome of the Torah, so his goal would be near, and he would not have to walk a long way. As he said, teach me the whole Torah while I am standing on one leg. Hence he defined it for him as love of his friend, since its aim is nearer and is revealed faster, since it is mistake proof and is demanding. 16. In the above words, we find a way to understand our concept from above about the contents of that love your friend as yourself, how the Torah compels us to do something that cannot be done. Indeed, know that for this reason, the Torah was not given to our holy fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but was held until the exodus from Egypt, when they came out and became a complete nation of 600,000 men of 20 years of age or more. For then each member of the nation was asked if he agreed to that exalted work, and once each and everyone in the nation agreed to it with heart and soul, and said, we will do and we will hear, it became possible to observe the whole of the Torah, and that which was previously impossible became possible. This is because it is certain that if 600,000 men abandon their work for the satisfaction of their own needs and worry about nothing but standing guard, for their friends will not sow their friends will not lack a thing, and moreover they will engage in this with great love with their very heart and soul, in the full meaning of the commandment, love your friend as yourself. It is then beyond doubt that no one in the nation will need to worry about his own well-being. Because of this, one becomes completely freer of securing his own survival, and can easily observe the commandment, love yourself as your friend is yourself, obeying all the conditions given in item and 3 and 4. For how will one fear for oneself when 600,000 loyal lovers are standing ready, with great care that he will lack nothing of his needs? And therefore, once all the members of the nation agreed, they were immediately given the Torah, for now they were capable of observing it. But before they grew into a complete nation, and certainly during the time of the fathers who were unique in the land, they were not truly qualified to observe the Torah in its desirable form, since with a small number of people, it is impossible to even begin with engagement in mitzvot between man and man to the extent of love your friend as yourself, as explained in items 3 and 4. This is why they were not given the Torah. Okay, so we're told such a thing. How they come from 600,000 from such a state? There's confidence, there's arv. You can observe love your friend as yourself and receive the Torah, and this is done as a complete nation. Okay, now we will watch a clip with 14 minutes. An explanation, his explanation about item 15, and afterwards we'll have 2 workshops about explanations. So let's watch the clip. As our sages said, the Torah and commandments are only given in to join and Israel with them, which is the refinement of the body until they acquire the second nature defined as loving others, meaning the commandment, the one commandment of love your friend as yourself, which is the final purpose in the Torah, after which they immediately achieve adhesion with the Creator. In other words, the will to receive in those who are called Israel straight to the Creator, who have a point in the heart that pulls them forward to discover the purpose of creation. that will to receive must be corrected. And all its individual desires, all those desires are broken. They're all egoistic. They have to be corrected into being used in order to bestow. This is called performing, observing mitzvot commandments. Through the reforming light, we correct them. And these commandments, we should do them in the correction between man and man, between a person and his friend. Why? Because in the correction between man and man, we prepare a network, a place where the quality of bestow is revealed, and therefore, even though this quality of bestowal, the general bestow that is, always revealed each time we complete an individual correction on the path, and there are 125 degrees, which are divided into many states, each one, but our correction is in correcting. In the core our correction is in tying ourselves all the desires into one desire of mutual bestow between us. If that desire is corrected in this way, inside that desire, the filling is revealed the vital force or the Creator. So there's no difference between relating to others and relating to the Creator. But as he says, one is in practice, how we relate to a friend, to others, to the world. And the result is that we should always have in front of us those who do it. The result is the revelation of the Creator, the revelation of the power of bestow that is revealed with the correct action. Now you will understand the words of to that proud meaning to that egoistic person who wants to come and correct himself, that the essence of the tower is love. Your friend is yourself. Around that point everything runs around that axis, and the remaining 612 mitzvah, meaning corrections besides the correction of love your friend is yourself, are but in the interpretation and preparation for it, meaning they all move us toward love. And even the commandments between man and the Creator, the relation with the Creator, are also regarded as a preparation for that commandment, meaning it is certain that observing the commandments between man and man, bring a person to the Creator, which is the final aim emerging from the Torah and commandments, meaning to begin with we intend to reach addition with the Creator. In other words, that the force of bestow will control us, force of bestowing and love without any boundaries. We will simply come under the complete control of that quality of bestow. But in every action that we do, we must aim for that goal. Otherwise, the action is not directed correctly, and there's no reforming light on it that advances us toward it. As our sages said, the Torah and commandments were given only so as to cleanse Israel, meaning to make them more refined, which is the cleansing of the body, the will to receive, the intention to receive, until one acquires the second nature, desire to bestow. To find as love of others as an expression of the desire to bestow is love of others, meaning the one commandment, love your friend as yourself, which is the final aim of the Torah, after which one immediately obtains adhesion with him. If a person does all his actions in love of others, as a result he achieves adhesion with the Creator. All these actions are already in bestow, and mutual bestow brings equivalence and adhesion. So you're right. What is second nature? The second nature is when we have the will to receive and the will to bestow. When the will to receive governs, it's one nature. When the will to bestow governs, it's another nature. There's nothing more than that. Either one or the other. There's no half or a quarter or a third. No. When you have two forces, you always have one that is more, one that is less. There's nothing more, no other situation. But one must not wonder why it was not defined in the words, and you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Why not just command to love the Creator, and that's it? Why does it have to go through people? He did this for the above reason, that indeed, with respect to a person who is still within the nature of creation, there is no difference at all between the love of the Creator and the love of his fellow person, for anything that is from another is unreal to him. I cannot feel the other if he belongs to me, if I'm dependent on him. More correctly, then, to the extent that I'm dependent on him, it means I feel him. So I don't feel him. I feel how much I am dependent on him, to how much I could lose if something were to happen to him. That's the only way we calculate. The same goes for love or friends. We don't know what it is. We don't detect these things with our senses. With my senses, I detect only what gives me pleasure or might cause me pain. Love of friends I feel no need for it, because love of friends what you'll be loved isn't it. Good love of friends is not that I am loved, it's that I love them, that I'm giving myself to them. I care about them, I tend to them, I give them. This is love who needs it. I understand that love means that I am loved. That they do as I understand in this world, and everyone will serve me and do. I'm open to love, no problem. This I understand. So from the love of people to the love of the Creator is something completely different with respect to people from what we understand. This is why here he's talking in the mutual responsibility. He's talking about why love is the purpose of creation. We think love is great. We enjoy what? Enjoyment. You enjoy bestowing. You enjoy giving. And not that you're giving in order to enjoy. You're giving against your will by overcoming. In other words, we need to think a little more at our work in the group. We should not decipher it, interpret it the way we interpret these words in our world. Closeness, love, connect, connection, have, all of them, a place only above the overcoming, only above the overcoming, and the overcoming is above the barrier, up to the barrier. It's not considered overcoming. I am still in the preparation period, and because that proselyte yet that person wanted to move from reception to bestow, he asked Ophi to explain to him the desired outcome of the dua, so his goal would be near, and he would not have to walk a long way, meaning quickly and concisely. This is what he came to ask, and he wanted to advise him accordingly. So he said to him, he asked me, teach me the whole Torah. Well, I'm standing on one leg. On one leg is a big problem, but a proselyte cannot be on two legs. He doesn't have the other leg. To be, he only has one leg, the will to receive. Clear? So what was the answer? He defined it for him as love of his friend, since its aim is nearer and is revealed faster, since it is mistake-proof and is demanding. What did he want to say? He told him on one leg. He said, okay, what is okay? Don't do to your friend that which you hate, meaning against the will to receive. Since you only have one leg now, you're standing on it. You can work only in the will to receive. In the will to, you have nothing. So in that will to receive, work in that. In what? Not doing harm to others. Just like you don't want others to harm you. You have a measurement in this, meaning you relate to others the way you relate to yourself. Measure. Do you want others to treat you this way? Exactly the same way you want to be treated. Treat others. Don't do to your friend that which you hate. About hatred, not about the plus. Don't do to your friend more and more and more things that you want done to you. No, we're talking only about the minus. Don't do to him what you hate, what you don't want others to do to you. Only one thing, because a person is still as a proselyte, meaning he is only entering the path of reaching bestow. Those who are still not in the desire to reach bestow and don't want it, still don't understand it, but is already studying the wisdom of Carmela. He is called a proselyte. Gentile. Gentile means he still doesn't understand the work. He doesn't agree. He doesn't want. He hasn't entered anything. He's called a Gentile. Before that, people who don't have any point in the heart, they are all like beasts. The degrees in a person are already for those who you are called men, or who already have points in the heart. So there's a state of Gentile who still doesn't understand that he needs to convert, meaning to shift from in order to receive to in order to bestow. Afterwards he's called proselyte, when he already understands. As he now asks, he's asking, what should I do in order to approach it? Then he's called a Jew, one who is already looking for the unity. Then he's called Israel, when he can direct himself toward in order the intention to bestow, and then he reaches being a dumb man, which is already the point of attention. Along the way there's anos and a man. So we heard many things from Rav about love of friends and the connections between us. We also heard about the stage before a person reaches the quality of bestow. We'll read from Rav's words. Rav says on one foot is a very big problem, because a proit cannot yet be on both feet. He doesn't have the second foot, which is the desire to bestow. He has but one leg, which is the desire to receive. And what's the answer? He received. Hence he defined in love of his friend, because the goal is closer and faster to be revealed, since it's kept from mistakes and is quick. On one leg, he says, don't do to others what you hate, meaning the desire to receive, and you have but one foot and you're standing on it, and you can only work in with the desire to receive. You don't have anything for the desire to bestow. So the desire to receive says, okay, don't harm others like you don't want to be harmed. You have a possibility to measure how you relate to others and relate to yourself. Measure whether this is how you would like to be done to you, and in the same way that you want to be related, to relate to others. Don't do to your friend what is hated upon you. On this hatred, not the plus. Do to your friend more and more of what you want done to you. We're talking only about the minus, about the damage. Don't do to him what is hated upon you. Just one thing, because a person is still in the manner of a proselyte. He end means he enters to work and bestows. So the Raf talks about the Croit who has no possibility to bestow, and he says, at least don't harm others like you don't want to be harmed. So let's do a workshop. Each can share his friend from the words that are hated upon you, from things that are hated upon you. What do you try not to do? Again, out of those things that you hate done to you. What are you trying to do in the 10? We've got 6 minutes for this. Well, what do I hate? I'm standing only. All I have is egoism. That's nothing else. So, what do I hate? When my ego is cut off, when I'm humiliated, things like that. Or how not to use the ego, how not to denigrate others, how not to dismiss others. I think this is what they're talking about. I don't like when people tell me what to do, who I'm told to do this to, that, and I try to give as little as possible commands to others, and it turns out that when people have to give me commands, sometimes in duty or something, then I try to justify them and not to see it from the negative place. I'd like to add that the goal is to reach the quality of Bistel. He wants it. He's already a proselyte. That's very important. This is why all those calculations are toward the goal. I think to see the points in the hearts of my friends and not their characteristics around. I look at them and I try to only see the points in the heart and not be influenced by all kinds of nature of friends. The question is, what are the things that I hate that I to not do to the friends, and by this I do that which you hate to not do to your friend. I can't really answer it. What does it mean that I hate? I hate for in relation to what, in the rela in relation to the yearning for the Creator. I don't know what I hate. I know that I make an effort to drag the friends along with me to the revelation of the quality of power bestowed in the world, and I do anything for it. And what I hate, sometimes I want it, sometimes I don't want it, but I know that that's the goal, and you have to reach it. I'm kind of measuring, weighing my words, what I should say to the microphone. I'll say everything, of course, but one of the things that I certainly can say, it's cynicism. I know upon myself. I'm using it many times, but I can't stand it when others do it towards me. So I'm trying not to do it towards the 10, and I'll stop here for now. According to the egoistic nature, things I don't want them to do to me are exactly the things I do to them, because I know that that's the most painful. On the other hand, when we in the tent work and build an environment, not to do it like another nature. But it's not enough just to build it as another nature. To change myself by force is important, but it's not enough. Love for them is still missing. Greatness. Many interactions are still missing, and together we need to do it. A second nature. First of all, we need to feel what's good for the friends in order to. So if you're doing something to the friends, at least according to my feeling, it will be pleasant and good for the friends. Yes, why have we come here? To reach equivalence of form. So what does the friend want? That from a state where I am on one leg, I come to 2 legs, to receive the Torah, understand that I am a proselyte. From that come to a state of being a Jew. Israel, a state of adhesion. So I shouldn't do anything that is not toward the goal. That takes you, deviates you, deflects you from the goal, which is reaching the final point of adhesion with the Creator. The proselyte is one who wants to repent, to come back to the Creator where he was given a very small point and he was brought to a society where he can build. Where will he take it? It's a great pain, and for the ego to go through all these qualities that he hates. The Creator shows all the time how much I hate being humiliated, how I hate relating in certain ways, and this is, like you said, what we need to bring to the 10 good things. What you have not to ever bring to the society. This is how you build. You ask the Creator to give you such a possibility, where it's your desire to receive which you want to leave and you can't, and then you ask for the help of the Creator. Okay, so we are moving to workshop number 2. Before that, each of us, he's already in a 10 for several years now, so he knows what his friends like, what they like less, what they hate. Now, we talked about not doing to your friend that which you hate, so it's a very precise measurement. That which you hate, first of all, don't do. And here, he says it's not enough. So we also need to know what we do, what we should do to the friends, how to bestow upon them. So here comes the second question. What do you try to do to the friends that they like? What do you in the 10 try to do to the friends that they like? 6 minutes. We need to build an environment for friends who want to reach the goal. And here love and hatred become something completely different. A friend loves where we talk about the greatness of the Creator, where we're all aiming towards the real 10, where there's a centre of the 10, where there's in the connection between us the Creator will be revealed. This a friend loves, and that's what I need to give to a friend. I know that in our tent, we are a musical tent. So every now and again I try to bring the guitar and together with Sophie, who brings his drum, and we're trying to make people happy. That's why I tried to do it for a friend. In the end, we have to give the importance of the goal and to try to connect between everyone and reach a common prayer to the Creator. So there's all kinds of ways to do it, but every friend according to what he loves or doesn't. Eventually, that's the goal of unity and a common prayer to the Creator. It's a matter of going above reason, where you feel and see towards the fence. It's not relevant towards your spiritual expression. You have to exert and feel the environment of bestow that can reach attention to the Creator in its potential. This is what we seek. This is the whole matter of the exertion we make. 2 things. 1 is food, if possible. I see Kai smiling because I know he likes to satisfy that desire to when a friend has an initiative or something he wants to push forward. I try to support as much as I can. I see that Shalom does that often too. I say there's the head of the 10. So Shalom comes and support the friend. That is a quality that there's a lot to talk about, but I would say that, in truth, we don't know what really a friend loves. We know general things, we know general lacks, but what's special is that each time we perform this action and raise one another, it all depends on our impressions and deeds. Like you said, about food awakening to raise spirits, to feel a deficiency, everything goes hand in hand, there's no specific thing. You had to increase the deficiency for the greatness of the Creator. And by the way, it's not always pleasant for a friend to hear it. I know it's not always pleasant to me. I have to change my nature and the ego objects, but it's the cure, and we have to talk about it, mention it in order to eventually come to the prayer. There are many scrutinies here. What's sweet for one, and the desire to receive is also what advances him in spirituality. Not sure that it's so. So, what can we give it? What can you give him? Only what you can give him. What can you give him? The conditions and the spiritual environment. How it will help him, that's not on me. But that's what you need to do to a friend. To give you the example that completely turned me around the last convention, the 10 convention, we came with the goal of bringing contentment to the Creator, and I saw how each friend was trying to do whatever he could. Each one gave such examples that I didn't feel, and that turned me upside down. I didn't know what to do for the friends, so just to do good to them, that's all I was looking for, to help direct them to the goal, and that they would be happy. And I saw how each friend was special, how there are no such friends. I started seeing something completely different from what I saw before. That's the exercise we have to do each time, all the time. Yeah, it's usually like that with us. What Gaddy said is what I want to say. That's the proof. But do we live? We sat there in workshops and we didn't want to leave in the Congress. We didn't want to leave it. It was to the contrary. It was constantly it was suddenly revealed that each of us wants this. How their mutual support helped us understand what we want, and so that workshop became meals, etc. And this is how it is very special. So what do we love? Okay friends, we finished prepare questions. We now have something like 20 minutes for questions and to scrutinize these topics that are not simple here. 2. The topic is quite clear. I can measure at as much as I love myself, and that's clear to everyone, just like I tend to myself. For me, it's an example how to search for opportunities to bestow upon the friend those two things don't do to your friend, that which you hate, and you can also measure it. Precisely what I hate and also the other one are the rules, so until you ask questions, I will ask, maybe someone can answer. In the clip, Rob said that this first rule, when hell was asked on one leg, what is on one leg? It's when a person is still in the will to receive. So when a person is in the will to receive, he can only avoid doing harm to the friend. To love, you need two lead vessels of. If this is so, then why in dissemination are we not putting the emphasis on this, on not doing to your friend that which you hate? We're going immediately for love and connection, and that makes it difficult. A person hears such things, you know, where am I and where is love? At least not harming. It's pretty clear. I think it's clear, so why do we nevertheless do it? I remember was asked several times who remembers what he answered. Yes, I don't remember what he answered, but in my opinion, when he disseminate, he wants to give a person the taste of what the ideal state is. He nevertheless doesn't hear you. He's not relating to me. I need to do something. But the idea itself, when you do that and disseminate to him, it's a very good state that you can connect to. But when you say not to do, here, my ego enters and I start to understand that there's work here. But when you're talking about love, it's something nice that you can connect to. Nice. Who else? Yeah. I'm just curious if there's more importance we should put on doing what the friends like in spirituality, as far as spirituality is, or their corporeal life. Yes, Cal, it's a very good question, because each of us in the 10 knows his friends. He knows what they love. He knows what influences them more and awakens them more to spirituality. One friend really loves workshops. The other can't tolerate workshops. Another wants to constantly read sources. The second is not so connected to reading. The third one plus songs. The others don't, meaning we do recognize our 10 and our feelings and the life, that instance. And there's a stage on the path where he's given a possibility and he starts to do what the friends will receive an impression. This goes both on the positive side and the negative things. He says he wants to come to time. He knows he won't come on time. Now, do I come into this to him or not? If I say, will it just annoy? Will it cause separation? Does it add connection? In the 10, there are many discernments which are worthwhile to scrutinize. We wanted to touch some of these things today, not in general statements. The fact that we need to reach the importance of the goal and all that, that's all good. Everyone knows that. But when it comes to the practice there, the characteristics with my attitude towards the path and the style that I love are more or less, meaning how much I can give up for the sake of the friends. And it's not that simple when you make these calculations. 10 is not a constant thing. It's not changing, and a friend creates a certain atmosphere. It's clear that when there's importance, it all works, and that's why it doesn't work right now. And we therefore think that there's a sensitivity a person needs to develop towards his friends. It's Stasier where we talk about love here. Friendness yourself. I need to understand what a friend is important for him and what's not. Not that he has to go on the path, but what precisely gives him a good feeling. It's clear that he can do things, and we all do what we can do, but there are also things that impact the person spiritually, and mostly there's also things that really annoy a person on the spiritual path. It's worthwhile to identify them and to try to understand and adapt for every friend way that suits them most. Usually I come, and I do all that, and you see the friends are not influenced by it. So and what do I contribute? In addition, everything we go through in the 10 is spiritual. We can't distinguish what is corporeal because our purpose to begin with is spirituality. Women PT 33. To your question, Moshe, I think that in dissemination, we don't explain it because they don't have the recognition of evil. And we know that when you teach women in the young gradually, okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the beautiful lessons. Explains the grading of Gentile Israel is Israel, Adam, and the wisdom of Kabbalah. We study it in many aspects, and how we scrutinize it. It's like a bitter medicine. At some point it's unpleasant, but thanks to the love and the environment of friends we can overcome it. So the question is, to what extent can I give this medicine to my friends, to offer it to them, because there's a dilemma here. I want us to advance together. I cannot succeed without them. So it turns out they still don't know what will be revealed, and I have to give them that medicine, and there's unpleasantness there, and there's overcoming. So it's as if I have an egoistic motivation here where I force my love on, then impose my love on them, and I know that as a result there will be dissents. I couldn't really understand the dilemma, but in the end you said I impose my love on them. This is already not the lore that we're talking about here. You need to learn what they like. Love your friend as yourself. The way you like yourself, you love yourself. You have to learn to the same extent to tend to them. It's not that what you love, they too have to love, and then you give it to them. That's not giving. It's an example, just as you learn how you love yourself to that extent. That extent, as an example, you're told you have to bestow upon them, but what you have to learn what they want. If you don't know what they like, you mustn't do it, because this is not bestow. I'll give an example. And great friends came to us. They came at 3:00 a.m. They didn't sleep. I meet them at the airport and say, here's the hotel, and then come to the lesson. Everyone's waiting for you, but they wanted to rest on one hand. On the other hand, I'm saying come to the lesson. They have some overcoming to do because they haven't slept. So, what's the priority is here. And the order is to come to the lesson. They did right. Each friend has to develop sensitivity to what their friends want, and not there's a friend, let's say, who writes a song each day, records it, prepares it, sends it. I didn't ask this of him, and I can't really listen to it, but on the other hand I feel that he does it from the bottom of the heart. He wants to lift me. What should be my correct approach to gifts that I don't need and actually seem a little harmful to me, but nevertheless, the friends want to please me, so he does it. I also have a friend like that. Maybe it's the same friend. Maybe he sends it to me as well. We need to help each other and aim in all the states to the final state, the love of the Creator, because only from there the help will come, only from there the solution will come to everyone. So what does it mean with respect to the some of you says? He has to try to see each state and each friend to direct it to the final goal. Whatever he feels, he has to feel to develop his feeling toward the goal. A friend who received the song, he should see the friend as great. He has to judge him favorably. On the other hand, the friend who sings should see to whom he sends his songs. Okay, yes, David. If a friend does like you said before, that in calculations what advances to 10. What friend a friend, it'll be easy for him to see and make a calculation whether the action a friend does contributes to advancement. If he does it to bestow, I check and see if it advances him, and I'll see if it's for the benefit of the Creator, so it'll be easy for me to receive his song. Maybe it won't hurt me, actually make it pleasant for me, because the friend is advancing in spirituality. That is the calculation, is not what I feel, but what advances a friend. Have said in the clip, I feel how much I'm dependent on the friend, how much I can gain or lose from the connection between us. So if he felt how dependent he is on the friend, he would start dancing when he heard the song. Thank you. To see that the behind the song is the Creator. If you hear me okay. Now reminded me of the exercise that Avos once remember, that those who are deaf people came on stage to sing, and this is what said. I kind of cringed when I heard it because it's difficult to hear but a person you have to think about, the effort that a person made because he doesn't want to be heard like that. So I wanted to be with him, to hear his labour toward the goal. How much labour he gave and came to sing now on stage. Thank you. So let's move to some questions, please. Women unity, please. Good morning, great teachers, and the whole world clear. Please explain. Standing on two legs, is it to receive for yourself in order to bestow upon others? There are several explanations. There's several explanations here. One explanation is that during the preparation period, a person is on one leg is only the will to receive. Two legs is already when he has the will to bestow. This is one explanation. The other explanation is that when a person is in spirituality, he has 2 degrees to bestow in order to bestow and receive in order to bestow. But that's already when a person has attainment. I want to continue the topic of doing good in the 10 and to friends altogether. How do you come to such a state where we do? In the beginning, we're in a place where we want to do good. In the end, you get some kind of stamp from it. How to come to the friends feeling the good that I want to do with them and not feel like I'm doing bad out of I'm trying to do so much good that it actually comes out back bad. How do you do that? She asks. Sometimes I'm trying to do good and it kind of gets the impression of doing bad in the friends. How do you come to a place where you do good and it continues good and not that it becomes bad? I think that's the art. I cannot aim you favourably. I want everyone to sing. I want everyone to do this and that, and they don't really go along with me. They feel bad because of it. If this is not love, you have to learn. Love your friend as yourself means the way you love yourself as much as you love yourself. You don't need to do the same thing for them, but you need to learn that to the same extent with all kinds of tactics. And it's a great craft, great art to learn what advances and what will make them love. For example, the question about the song. If you get a song from a friend and you don't really feel like listening, but if it makes the friend happy, then you receive in order to bestow. Sort of by receiving it, you're giving to the friend. It's like you, a little child who, if he comes, he made something to eat for you, and it's not tasty, but you receive it gladly. This is called bestowing. One of the examples Ralph gives is, everyone recognizes this when he is a little child. So he brings a picture from the kindergarten, right? He brings home a picture and there's a complete scribble on there, and the child brings it as a drawing from kindergarten. We put it on a frame. We put on our refrigerator, put things around it, and all that. Say what an amazing picture. He's like Picasso and etc. We have amazing talented friend. In practice there's a complete scribble, but our attitude towards the child makes this thing great. The picture has no meaning whatsoever. Just like the song, my attitude towards the friend is what makes this story. That's an example, very special example that Raf gave, but at the same time, if you already hinted to the friend not to send it, if you already hinted to this to the friend not to send this, so the friend need to understand that for him not to send it is best to bestow. If you were told not to send it, then do us a favour and don't send. To continue in question whether a negative response from a friend nevertheless necessarily means that I didn't operate well or correctly. It's a question, because I look at it as don't do it to your friend that which you hate. I don't perceive myself in such a developed way. I learn from people's reactions. I did something, I see a negative reaction, I stop doing it. Normally, it's correct, but I don't know if it's necessarily always like that. What does everyone think? It's a complex question. The least harmful thing is personal. Example. That's what we heard from our teacher. When you give a personal example, and for sure you're not harming others because you're trying to give an example, you're hoping that this example will influence others. The difficulty starts where it seems to you, or at least the person that the example he's giving does not influence, because things are not changing. Let's say with coming on time or attitude towards the lesson, attitude towards duties. When people are doing all kinds of actions during the lesson, maybe you're trying to give an example and you're hoping that it will influence others. Also in some way, but at least in your eyes, it's also not for sure that it's correct. But in your eyes, it seems like it's not influential. Still that same behavior that bothers you is continuing. So the question is, what do we do? Does it only bother you? Does it bother the whole 10? Is it agreed upon the whole 10 or not? Because otherwise it becomes a personal thing where you're coming to someone and then he responds and then he's right. You're right, you're not right. And it be the matter itself is already put on the side and it becomes a personal matter. Yeah, it's really complicated. For example, we're sitting at a meal and a friend is speaking. It's not nice. Someone is speaking from the stage and the friends here are speaking. So I tell them something. It depends in which way. Sometimes friends come to you in such a way that you can't look at them. For 2 days, you're angry and you're offended. Although he did the right thing. He stopped you talking. According to the rule is correct. But the question is how you do it. If you can do it nicely, you can maybe say afterwards if you see that it's repeating. You can do it in some tricky way. I'm thinking, what would I do with my child? What would I do with the person I like? So it depends on a person's character. Sometimes some are very straightforward and blunt, so they speak directly. So it's complicated. But if you see that it's offensive and then a friend doesn't speak to you for several days because you hurt his ego directly, I wouldn't do it. We understand that our work is to connect with friends and to love the friends and to see the greatness of the Creator. But when we discover that we lost the longing for such things, we don't even have the strength to yearn for such things. What should we precisely do? What to ask the Creator to merit a true correction and for the correct yearning to be revealed in us? Yesterday during the preparation for the lesson, our friend read something very inspiring, or at least me inspired. I'll read it. It's very short because it probably is etched in everyone. It was PT2. They read that to feel the greatness of the Creator means to appreciate His presence in your life more than life itself. Again, to feel the greatness of the Creator means to appreciate His presence in your life more than life itself. It was very moving. It was like a person goes to do a blood test and he has some kind of illness that he doesn't want to see. So it's really searching within the parameters that specific things. It's same with the greatness of the Creator. We have to reveal the Creator. That's our fuel. That's what pushes us along the way. This is what helps us rise above all states. The more greatness of the Creator in the 10, it will drive us in the right direction. Friends, now we're moving to hear a discussion on the path with Raf. It is called The Creator Takes Into Account Your Thought About Friends. The Creator takes into account your thoughts about friends. It took place 3 weeks ago on June 7th. Please, I wanted to ask, we read that the complete correction of the world can be only after all the people of the world are placed under the work of the Creator. What's written? So how do you do what's written? We work on it. With what? By studying what Rash and by Samash writes about it. I have no other solution. When you examine yourself at the end of the day, how can you determine that today I worked in order to bring all the created beings into adhesion with Him? I think that each and every one of us must give. Should we even check ourselves? Should we introspect according to when we learn from reading in Barulam, and we must to make some introspection. Yes. What kind of introspection do I do with what tools? How do I do it? What do I ask myself? I don't know which question to ask and what answer to expect. I am thankful that He gave me the possibility to work, that I have a good correct environment. Well, and then I continued to the next day, and that way a day went by. What can I do with what tool will I check? What am I going to check? What do I know? What would you tell him? Shimon, every time the Creator advances us, every time I really feel that the Creator is advancing us and advancing us more to connection with Him, we only need to ask Him. Today we're focusing on bringing Mashi into spirituality. All our prayers should be directed toward that. To really want it to happen, this is how we will go friend by friend. until it works. Today, we had a workshop. Each one wrote, why Mushy deserves to enter spirituality. Why Mushy deserves to enter spirituality. So you too should answer that question. I think that this is how we need to think of each and everyone. This is what we do. Each day we think about another friend, why he deserves to enter spirituality. Tomorrow we'll be thinking about Shimon. Then we will think about Judy. Then about, it's an exercise. So yes, today we're thinking specifically about Mushy. So why? From your perspective, Mushy deserves to enter spirituality because he has good thoughts about each of us and we agree with it. Do we help a friend enter spirituality? Of course we do. The Creator is considerate with me so that I will bring Mushy into spirituality, or that he has a plan for Mushy, and you can think that you're doing something but he knows exactly what he wants, or is it that in the Creator's plan there is already my thought there, and if I integrate it and I will bring him into spirituality if I support him. Yes, the Creator takes our opinion into account. Yes, if the friends don't think, then the Creator cannot do anything. Even if he wants to, he cannot. If the friends don't think, if they don't say okay, if they don't give their agreement, is that the way it is? Kabbalists think about the connection between them, the mutual help, etc. And the Creator accepts this and takes it into account. For example, did you feel the support of the friends that helped you enter? Yes. Do you feel the friends that support you? Or do you discover later that they helped? Yes. And without this I don't know, but it seems to me that without it, there is no such thing. Well, for example, Mushy, now I want to support him, to help him. So what do? I send him a thought. I see his image kind of within me. I keep him in my thought. I read something. Maybe I shouldn't think directly. Maybe just my engagement in the sources works. What his help with? What can I help with? What can I support? What does he want? Spirituality. Well, spirituality it is. He wants a lot. He has many desires. Well, try and see in what you can help him. So I help in general, I can support. Let's say the factory, or as a friend on the path. I'm asking what is the, let's call it spiritual help. What is the meaningful act that I can do that will really be helpful? If you will think good about him, then they'll have benefit from it. Yes, if you will think good about him, goodwill for him, he will have benefit. The purpose of man's work is to achieve the intention to bestow, for there is nothing to correct in the external action, since the vessel that was created by the Creator will not undergo any change. Rather, all the changes should be in the intention, meaning that since the purpose of creation is to do good to his creations, he created a vessel for this purpose, called desire and yearning to receive pleasure. However, in order not to have the bread of shame, but only through equivalence of form, a correction was made called restriction, so as not to receive unless it is in order to bestow. In other words, in the same vessel he had before, namely the will to receive, but with a different aim, meaning not to receive because he wants to satisfy his deficiency, but because of the mitzvot of the Creator, since he wants to do good to his creations, but for himself, he's willing to relinquish the pleasures. Therefore follows that all the work is only on the aim to come to a person yearning to bestow. This is called inner work, which is sometimes concealed, not apparent on the outside. It is man's intention in the act that he performs. All right. Active workshop. Let's awaken in the 10. A yearning to bestow. Active workshop again. Let's awaken in the 10. A yearning to bestow. We yearning to bestow. Truly, it's complicated to explain a yearning to bestow. What's bestow? It's an awakening from above. So to always find the right discernments of what it is to bestow, even though you receive the opposite from a friend or from someone, it doesn't matter what. Precisely to be even more happy, because through that you can bestow and not receive anything for you. We were born with a body, and the body is the will to receive for oneself always, and how to go against the body is only through our work in the 10. That is the blessed gift we received, and here we need to put all of our exertion to yearn to bestow. There's nothing else in life. It's correct to begin every morning and our entire study from yearning to bestow to give another blow to the body. How can we do that? Only through examples. I see friends, they look at me, I look at them. Internally, we are going to mutual guarantee between us. So, we should awaken between us this yearning. Yes, and indeed, we have a privilege to be sitting now trying to draw the forming light, the surrounding light connecting together at all hours, and soliciting this illicit joy. We're trying to do something. We're not exactly sure even what we're trying to do, but we do it because the Kabbalists said to be what it. I don't know if someone can really define it properly, or like Rabish says here in the article that it's to awaken a desire that exists, that you're in the ego, you're in the biggest prison in the world. So to escape from it, silent workshop. Let's enter the lesson with an intention to bestow to the Creator. Silent workshop. Let's enter the lesson with an intention to bestow to the Creator. Dear friends, in the first part of the lesson, we will watch a recorded lesson from the 22nd of May 2002 based on the article, What is there is no blessing in that which is counted in the work. The writings of what is there is no blessing in that which is counted in the work. We will read the article together into 10. We have 36 minutes for that. 36. What is there is no blessing in that which is counted in the work. It is written in the Zoho, quote, Come and see, it was established that there is no blessing above on that which is counted. And if you say, how were Israel counted? He took from them ransom for their souls. And they established that they did not calculate until all the ransom was collected and reached the number. It follows that in the beginning Israel are blessed when receiving the ransom, and afterwards they count the ransom and bless Israel once more. It follows that Israel were blessed in the beginning and in the end. There was no plague in them. He asks, why does a plague appear? Because of the count. And he answers, it is because there is no blessing in that which is counted, and since the blessing departed, the other side is on it, and can do harm. End quote. We should understand the following. 1. If there is no blessing in that which is counted, what is the difference if we count people or the ransom instead of the people? Since in the end, we know the number of people. Thus, how does it help if we swap the ransom? Because, in the end, we know their number. 2. Why is the ransom specifically a half shekel and not a full or a quarter of a shekel? What does half mean to us? 3. Why does the verse say, quote, the rich will not give more and the poor will not give less? End quote. Is there anyone who does not know that if we need to know a certain number and swap so that instead of counting people, we count something else? It must be the same thing for everyone, or it will not be possible to know the count. What does this come to teach us? How does it benefit us if we are blessed in the beginning and in the end if there is a counting in the middle? Do the blessings spoil the count if there cannot be a blessing in that which is counted? To understand all this in the work, we must pay attention to the purpose that we must achieve. It is known that every purpose that we want to achieve requires labour, for without labour nothing can be accomplished. Thus, in the work of the Creator, what is the purpose that we want to achieve, and for which we labour? The answer is achieving adhesion with the Creator, which is called equivalence of form. That is as the goal of the Creator in creating the world was to do good to his creations. Our goal should be to do good to the Creator. In other words, man should do things to please the Creator. This is called equivalence of form. This means that when the two forms come as one, the purpose of the Creator dresses in the purpose of the created beings. It follows that his will to do good to his creations, which is the purpose of creation, dresses in the desire to bestow contentment upon his Maker, and this is called receiving in order to bestow. It follows that we should say that our reward for the labour is the obtainment of the goal, much like corporeal matters when we exert, and in return achieve the goal that we aspire for. For nothing is given without an effort. It follows that when a person wants to walk on the path of truth in order to achieve his goal, called adhesion with the Creator, or all his actions are in order to bestow, he must put in labor, which is called suffering. This means that a person has to go against his nature, meaning that man was created with with vessels to delight himself, and he must walk on the path that will lead to pleasing the Creator and not for his own sake. However, the body resists it. There are wars over this. Once the desire to bestow prevails, and once the will to receive triumphs. Yet we must know that all the powers we will have, so we can go against the will to receive. We must receive from the Torah. It is as our sages said, I have created the evil inclination. I have created the Torah as a spice. That is what is the reward one expects when he engages in Torah and labors in the Torah. It is to aim to be rewarded with the desire to bestow upon the Creator. This is considered that he is learning Torah in order to achieve Lishma, for her sake called in order to bestow. This is regarded as cling unto his attributes. Accordingly, there are two manners in labor in the Torah. One, he labors in the study of Torah in order to thereby obtain self-benefit, such as in order to be called rabbi or for payment of money. 2. He labors in the Torah in order to obtain the power to go against self-benefit. It follows that here there is a different discernment to make in the labor. That is, a person must make great efforts in order to have the strength to labor in the Torah for this intention which is against the body. Moreover, the body resists him as much as it can and does not want to give him the energy to exert in the Torah with this intention, but in Lishmer, not for her sake. The body sees that if it gets what it wants to receive in return, the body gives him fuel to work, so he can exert in Torah and mitzvot, Torah and commandments, since the reward it expects to receive does not go against the body. Hence the body can give him energy to work. Therefore, when a person sees that he can obtain self-benefit through labor, he has the power to do things and make great efforts, and there is no weakness in his work. This is how women, little ones, and uneducated people are first educated, since it is possible to convince a person to engage in Torah and mitzvot only through Lishma. However, when a person should replace the goal, meaning where in the beginning of his work in Torah, his goal which he wanted to achieve through the labor was self-benefit, now he replaces the goal. That is where he thought, when will I achieve the goal for my will to receive, so I can enjoy. Now he yearns for the goal and says, when will I be able to delight the Creator and relinquish self-benefit? Since this purpose is against nature, he needs more faith in the Creator, since he must always exert to obtain the greatness of the Creator. That is to the extent that he believes in the greatness of the Creator. To that extent he can work with this intention. For this reason, it is upon a person to pray each day that the Creator will open his eyes, so he will recognize the greatness and importance of the Creator, so he has fuel to labor with the aim to bestow. There are two discernments to make in this. One, to have a desire to bestow contentment upon his Maker, that this will be his only aspiration. Two, to do things with the aim that the actions will bring him a desire to do things in order to please the Creator. In other words, he must work and toil extensively to obtain a light and a vessel. Light means that he received from the Creator a desire where he craves all day to bring contentment to the Creator, and a vessel is a desire, meaning that he wants to bestow upon the Creator. Those two he should receive from the Creator, meaning both the light and the vessel. However, a person should demand this, and it is written about this, quote, Zion, no one requires her, end quote. And our sages said, quote, this means that she ought to be sought, end quote, meaning that there must be a demand on the part of the lower ones that the Creator will give them both the light and the vessel. Accordingly, we should interpret what is written in the supplemental prayer of Chalar. Quote, those who are far will hear and come, and will give you a crown of kinship, end quote. It is known that the order of the work is as it is written, quote, we will do and we will hear, end quote. Doing pertains to the created beings. This is called which God has created to do. That is the part of doing pertains to us, and by this we will be rewarded with hearing, which is what the Creator lets us hear, but of themselves the creatures cannot take upon themselves the work of the Creator, which is only for the Creator. without interference of self-benefit, without the interference of self-benefit. Yet, the hearing comes from the Creator as it was at the time of the giving of the Torah, when the people of Israel heard from the Creator, and you shall not have. But before this there was a preparation to receive the Torah, as our sages said, that there was the matter of limitation and abstainment, as it is written, quote, and you shall dedicate today and tomorrow, end quote. Subsequently, they were rewarded with hearing the Torah. By this we should interpret, quote, those who are far will hear and come, end quote, meaning the fact that they are far, that there is a Torah of life, the law of life, or a teaching of life, which is called, as it is written, quote, for with you is a source of life, end quote, which is a teaching with the Creator, but man is far from it. And this distancing comes also from the Creator, since it is possible to be far from something only when a person clearly knows that there is a reality, but he for some reason is far from it. Hence, first a person must have faith in the Creator, and then he can say that he feels far from the Creator. It follows that this feeling that he is far must give him a feeling that the Creator watches over the world, and there is judgment, and there is a judge, except that he feels this from afar. Otherwise, who will tell him that he's far from the Creator? For this reason, when a person feels far from the Creator alerts him to this by appearing to a person from afar. This means that when the Creator is hidden from him, a person cannot be in a state of remoteness. For who tells him that he is far? However, by the Creator appearing to him a little bit, the feeling comes to him that he is far. This is the meaning of those who are far will hear, meaning that the Creator sends them hearing, so they will feel that they are far and will come near, meaning demand of the Creator to bring them closer, so they can achieve equivalence of form, which is vessels of bestow. However, a person can obtain these vessels only through help from above. This is called a light that dresses in a plea in a vessel, meaning in the desire for this power. This is as it is written, unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain. The meaning of unless the Lord builds a house is that the house the heart becomes a building of holiness. Labor in it in vain means that the labor is futile. Its builders are those who want to build a structure of kosher. They must know and believe that without his help, for he both gives the kli the desire and yearning to bestow, as well as the light which is the power that a person receives so he can work in order to bestow. He gives everything. A person must first act. That is before the work. A person must say, if I'm not for me, who is for me? Afterward he should say, unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in it in vain, as it was prior to the giving of the Torah, meaning in order for the people of Israel to be able to hear the Torah that was given on Mount Sinai, there was preparation on the part of the people of Israel who were given limitation and abstention. This is considered preparation on the part of the lower one. Afterward, it is possible to receive the Torah from the Creator. However, during the preparation before a person is rewarded with a vessel called a need to be able to work so that all his actions are in order to bestow. That need ascends and descends in him. Times he yearns for the Creator to give him the power to be able to do everything for the sake of the Creator, and asks the Creator to help him. At times he later suffers a descent, meaning that he feels no need to bring contentment to the Creator. Rather he craves only counsels and tactics to satisfy himself with pleasures for the will to receive for himself. If during the descent a thought concerning spirituality comes to him that he must work in order to bestow, he begins to think about the Creator. Why the Creator forbade working for self-benefit, and why should the Creator mind if a person does work for his own benefit? At that time he doubts the Torah and mitzvot altogether. Why he wants to afflict us and has given us laws that are hard to observe. If he really is a merciful Father, why has he made us observe his mitzvot through many prohibitions, etc.? Sometimes during an ascent he also thinks about the Creator and why he has given us commandments of interest such as keep your souls. That is the fact that man must eat, drink and so forth. For what purpose did the Creator create these things? Does the existence of these things make a person smarter and more heaven-fearing? Therefore, the person asks, why are corporeal pleasures needed? Since he sees no spiritual benefit from it. If thus a person ascends and descends, at times he does not understand why corporal pleasures were given to us in the first place, and now he understands that man's main purpose is to adhere to the Creator. So why were these corporeal pleasures created? During the descent, it is the complete opposite. He asks himself, why were many things prohibited to us and in general? Why is it forbidden to work for self-benefit, and we are as though compelled to work for the sake of the Creator, and if not, then we must suffer in this world and in the next? This is the order of the work during the preparation period, that is, before a person is rewarded with permanent faith. He is in the catapult, thrown from end to end, and seeing that he has no freedom of choice, rather, what they want above is what they do with him, while he is like clay in the hands of the potter without any say about himself, and the person should believe that all the states he goes through are for his sake. That is that specifically through the ups and downs he will achieve the desirable completion, as it is written, quote, a king who puts to death and brings life and brings forth salvation, end quote. Through the descents which are regarded as death in the work and brings to life, which is regarded as an ascent in the work, specifically by this, he the Creator brings forth salvation, meaning that man achieves wholeness. Now we can understand what we asked. Why do we need to count Israel in the first place? That is, who needs to know the number when counting is a dangerous matter? As it is written, quote, there is no blessing in that which is counted, end quote. And also, what difference does the correction they were given of giving ransom make if in the end we know the number of Israel? Also, what does it add to us if we bless in the beginning and in the end of the count? In the work, when speaking of everything within one person, we should know what the counting of Israel means. The work to achieve lishma, meaning to bestow, begins on the right line called wholeness. This is regarded as a man on whom there is a blessing. From this a person should be happy and praise and thank the Creator for rewarding him with some grip on holiness, however much he has, since he knows that this too he does not deserve, and this is regarded as being content with little. Thus he has no reason to count it, to see how many qualities of Israel he has, meaning what percentage of his work he can say is, meaning how much effort he's willing to make for holiness, called for the sake of the Creator. This is not interesting at all, because he says whatever gripe I have on Torah and commandments is more important than all the pleasures that exist in the world. We could ask about this. If this is so important, why does he settle for little? To this, he answers himself, I probably do not deserve to be given by the Creator a bigger share than I have, and I also see that there are people who do not have even this. It follows that he is a person in whom there is blessing, since he has something with which to be happy, and he sees that the rest of the people are joyful and happy over nonsense, while the Creator has given him the intellect and understanding to grasp that he should rejoice with the Creator. This is considered that before he comes to count the yes in him, meaning what he has inside the heart, he first blesses Israel. That is, he says that the Israel in him is blessed, meaning that he has a reason for gladness, since he is blessed and he is content with the little that he has. Afterward, Israel counted, meaning he shifts to the quality of the left and begins to introspect how much Torah and fear of heaven he has. That's how I go. Again, afterward Israel accounted, meaning he shifts to the quality of the left and begins to introspect how much Torah and fear of heaven he has. At that time he sees that he is full of faults, and then there can be a plague, meaning that he might come into despair and escape the campaign, and say that this work of is not for him. Yet he can no longer work in one line, because he can no longer fool himself and say that this is real work, since the left keeps telling him what is the work of truth. This is the meaning of there is no blessing in that which is counted, since he always has deficiencies. As it is written, there is not a righteous man on earth who does good and sins not. It follows that according to the rule, that way there is a lack, there is a grip to the kippot, the shell, meaning that the keeper, the shell shows him that this is not for him. With his complaint she killed him, meaning that whatever he had in spirituality she takes away from him, and he remains in the form of the wicked in their lives are called dead. This is the meaning of what is written, that anything that is counted holds no blessing, since it is always deficient, and in every lack there is a grip to the kippot. This is called a plague, as it is written, and there will be no plague in them when you count them. That is through the ransom there will not be death because of the counting. This means that when working in the left line, meaning although we are walking on the left line, and there can be a plague, through the ransom there will be no plague in them. For this reason, we were given the advice in order for the deficiency not to be apparent to the clipot, and they shall each give the ransom for his soul when you count them. That is, they should not regard the deficiencies they find when a person calculates what percentage are included in the quality of Israel. Rather, they should calculate how many corrections they must do in order to have ransom for their souls to the Creator, meaning that they will not look at the deficiencies, but at the correction of the deficiencies by which their soul, which was in the kippot, will emerge from them and cling to the Creator. This is called, and they gave each one the ransom for his soul, counting the corrections they must perform. Thus, they can only see corrections. As our sages said, a bill that is about to be collected is deemed collected. It follows that when looking at the corrections, it is as though he has already performed them, and there is no place of deficiency here. This is the meaning of the verse. Quote, "This is what everyone who is numbered shall give." End quote. We should interpret that seeing the deficiencies is regarded as everyone who is numbered. Half a shekel means, as it is written, quote, "A prayer makes half." End quote. It is the conduct of one who prays for himself that he has no wholeness, but only half, since one who is whole has nothing to pray for. Hence our sages warned us not to work in order to receive reward, but for wholeness. This means that what a person gives is regarded as half, meaning the vessel which is the will to receive for himself, which has moved away from the Creator, and we must pray that this vessel will connect to the Creator, who is called the light, and when the light shines in the vessel, it is considered wholeness. This is the meaning of a prayer makes half, where half means the vessel, for there is no light without a vessel. Therefore, when he prays and feels his lack, there's no room to fill the lack. It follows that the word "this they will give" refers to the vessel, which is half called an awakening from below, as was said that the prayer for the deficiency is already considered a correction. For example, one person gave his coat to the cleaner to remove stains. He tells the owner of the laundromat, "I'm counting the number of corrections. You should make so that I will know how much to pay you." He asks the owner of the laundromat to fix and remove the stains. But then it cannot be said that a person despairs when he sees that he has many stains, since he is not counting the stains so as to see how many deficiencies are in his coat. Rather, he counts how many corrections he must make. It follows that now he's not thinking of his deficiencies, but about the corrections. And naturally, it cannot be said that there is a plague in them in the stains, meaning that he should flee the battle and say that the work on the path of truth does not pertain to him. It follows that it is a great correction that we count the ransom and not the deficiencies in people. This is as our sages said, quote, "A bill that is about to be collected is deemed collected." End quote. That is when we engage in corrections. It is as though it is already corrected, because now he is looking at the corrections and not at the deficiencies. In addition to the above mentioned correction of the ransom called ransom for his soul to the Creator, meaning when we speak of corrections that there will be adhesion with the Creator, we must bless before the count. This means that we must work on the right line called blessing, meaning that he is a person who has no lacks. Afterwards we shift to the left called counting, and then again to the right